some problems are different from others, but basically, like we are facing the same category of problems. So I will just briefly talk about the global market and local market challenges, and basically from point as an Indian, I would say that. Then I would talk about waste and byproducts valorization, like which is one of the aspects which I believe that going forward, whether in this pandemic, which is converting to endemic, or if we are getting out of this phase, in both the cases, certain solutions which are related to waste and byproducts valorization. And something else which I think we all have briefly thought about and probably talked about among our colleagues in the house about nutrition. Like we all see to move forward this as one of the solutions which definitely we should take into account. So two of the ways which I think as a food engineer will help us are fortified foods and nutraceuticals, which along with healthy habits of picking food and using them properly will definitely help us. So, simultaneously, I will be also emphasizing on some of the technological and workforce considerations to take into account, and some of the policies which have been already applied in the case of India. Okay, so from the agricultural perspective, I think most problems Dr. Yejin already, if I'm pronouncing the name right, has already discussed elaborately, like what are the different issues. I have just categorized it a bit. So agricultural point of view, we see that like a lot of workers, means this restrictions of workers, this wasn't only seen in case of agriculture, but also in case of food processing units, because harvest and food processing, some of the unit operations, or we can say activities related to these two, are very much seasonal. We have seasonal fruits, seasonal vegetables of all different kinds, like oilseed pulses. So in that case, actually, there is a lot of movement of workers from one area of the country to another, and in case of Europe, from one country to another. We have seen that. So that was quite a lot restricted. So that's why it was a lot of pressure on the local people, local community, probably the families who had to properly do everything, literally starting from cultivation to everything which came after that, right? And literally one more problem which in case of everything, probably agriculture, aquaculture, as well as animal like processing, animal based food products, whether it was milk or meat, was overproduction. Because if any of the unit operations in the pipeline stopped, whether it was processing or distribution at any level, so everything was stuck at the production level, and there was a possibility of overproduction as well. So that was like a very common problem. So landfills were not being filled only by the household wastes, but it was also being filled by the waste generated at every single stage of agriculture, harvest, post-harvest, processing, and retail. So that was the challenge there. So one of the things which I want to emphasize, that apart from the processing unit operations which we generally practice, like I would like to talk about some of the solutions which are related to food systems. So in that perspective, I would like to emphasize that we need a mechanism for a utilization of wastes. Like obviously, definitely other ways of utilizing the produced food as well. And one more solution at this stage I would like to suggest is that farm people, like the people who are working or owning the farms, they shouldn't be only the expert of farming. They have to learn some other associated activities as well. Like we have some programs actually in India which are run by basically different agricultural universities have workshops for farmers and small stakeholders where they come and they learn different kind of processing steps, and they a lot of them actually go back and they're working on it. So that's there. So here, I would like to also say that we have self-help groups right now, which mainly consists of women. And government also has a plan of one district, one product. Like whichever district is producing any kind of commodity in a very high amount, so they want skilled workers there in that same community to be expert in utilizing those produce as well. So that's like a very good idea which can be applied in other cases as well. So actually our group, as we are food engineers, so we are helping a lot of self-help groups, and government also, like different organizations, in establishing this. Like technology transfer is going on, and small scale machines are being how to say, like we are suggesting what to buy, and like helping them in installing and learning it how to run it, because that way locally food will be at least available to them, and they can, if they are processing, obviously there's a value addition and they can keep it for later. But then again, at the same time, we need a mechanism where they know if there is a bit of waste, like not exactly waste, but a quality deterioration, where that particular commodity cannot be utilized as a mainstream food, can be used as a byproduct or a waste. So there has to be a mechanism where we are not just dumping it in a landfill, but rather using it for other purposes. So I would give you some perspective into that. Then we all know that there were closure of food production facilities. So I would like to suggest here that these firms globally, at every single place probably, the owners have to make sure the health conditions, and there has to be a bit of support system where they can take care of those workers, because that will definitely help generations. They will learn, like that's a skill set actually, to work in a food processing facility. And in certain places, even for example, filleting a fish on the boat, people are searching for people who actually can do it. So that kind of requirement is still there. Like manually, it's being done, and certain fish we don't have, for example, mechanical devices to do all the unit operations there. We need that kind of skill set. And then again, like demand among the consumers, everybody, I think most of us have talked about it, like how it has changed. So I don't need to even elaborate on the topic. And restricted food trade policies within the country as well as internationally did affect the availability. So we had to be self-reliant in terms of production. I think that's why a lot of technological and other kind of developments have happened throughout the world. And then financial is there on the food supply chain. I think we are all familiar with that, because government had to ensure the food supply to different communities, and that is not easy when things are not available in the market, probably too much available in some other places. So some of the emphasized solutions right now are is nutrition, because nutrition, availability of nutrition and ensuring nutrition probably will increase the immune system quite a lot, and that's something going forward we definitely need. And then about food safety, we had discussions, a significant discussion. So that's something also we need packaging systems and processing techniques developed. Some of the techniques which I will show in one of my slides, which are there, but they haven't been scaled up. So that can be, that's also a research area where we are working, and we need others also. Like it has to be multidisciplinary effort, right? So that's there. Then food security, definitely it's like a very big term which encompasses so many subsections, and I will talk a bit about that also, and how nutraceutical and fortified foods play a role in that. Example I will show you. Then at last, we need food sustainability, right? So we need global connectivity, we also need a local system. which are there, and like it shouldn't be like when there is no supply from outside it collapses. We need smaller groups as well, we need big facilities as well. So both have to coexist, and actually probably it's a very difficult concept to maintain in a long term, because obviously pandemic happened like once in 100 years, but still it happened. So probably at least or a model is there, then it can work out in future as well. So when I'm talking about waste valorization, so basically what it it's we get a lot of portions of the food which are not utilized, right? We cut vegetables, we peel off from the fruits, and then throw away basically, or make manure out of it. That's like one of the most common, can say. But these parts of the plant, including like the leaves and stems also, because we do regular pruning also, and in certain portions of the world, we have practices of burning them as well. Or probably they just fall on ground and they are converted to soil. So that probably is better, because there is then carbon addition to the soil, but burning is a bigger problem for sure. So, however, we can use biorefining concepts where we can extract, for example, all the nutraceuticals and probably prepare high value products out of it, because some of the components like phenolic compounds, which are basically antioxidants, they are quite significant in case of fruits, and probably the characteristic component which gives it its properties. And amino acids, fatty acids also. Rice bran oil is a very good example, which is actually extracted from the rice bran. And then glutamic acid also can be extracted from byproducts, dietary fiber, lignocellulose, which can be also converted to biofuel. And then starch content is quite high also in certain byproducts, like jackfruit seed, that's quite high, and then pumpkin seed also, that's quite high. And phytosterols are also there. Carotenoids, example of carotenoids is like astaxanthin, which can be extracted from shrimp cells, and that's quite highly present in that. And chlorophyll also, recently like research has shown so many beneficial properties of chlorophyll, so that's also a lot of research is going on its application as well. So from all sources, cereal byproducts, pulses, oil seeds, dairy byproducts, fruits and vegetable byproducts, fish, poultry, meat, everything, like all the different categories of byproducts, we can get a lot of components which can be used. Currently in market, you must have seen fish oil and omega-3 supplements. So that's basically extracted from the fish byproducts or underutilized fishes. Then astaxanthin, as I was mentioned, it can be potentially extracted from shrimp. It's not produced by shrimp or salmon, in which also we see the orange color. It's basically produced by a microorganism, and it gets accumulated in the body of these animals. And as we move up in the hierarchy, it's present in many other bigger organisms as well. So, but shrimp shells can be a potential source of astaxanthin. It's quite rich in that. And then this is the picture of the starch, which I have already discussed. Like it is present in so many things, and this is the chlorophyll. So I wanted to show you some products which are already there in the market. So this probably is the example of nutraceuticals, but we can make feed out of these things, right? We have to feed our animals. For example, the astaxanthin, which is extracted, that can be supplemented in the diet of salmon, or even in case of shrimp, like which is extracted, that can be again supplied as feed. Then the starch and protein sources and other sources like oil sources also can be converted to biofuels, bioplastics, directly or through microorganism accumulation. Then biochemicals directly, like simultaneously when we are, for example, producing certain things, other chemicals also, biochemicals also we are getting. And every single year, I think we get a new type of chemical which has been not exactly new, but things are being rediscovered also, like certain things which were obsolete, were not given importance, are now getting importance, because technology is there to actually analyze and verify the importance of those things. So that kind of scenario is there. So that increases the potential quite a lot. So basically, that was about the food waste valorization. So next, talking about the security, like this is I took from a Nature article. They have quite nicely summarized the four elements of food security. So basically, how we define it, that it exists when all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. It basically
Hi,
depends on
Winnie.
availability. Yes.
Pardon me. So sorry to interrupt. In the interest of time, could we please have you wrap up your slides um, in the next
Yes,
few
yes, for
minutes?
sure.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
after this,
much.
actually, two more slides are there. I will just wrap it up. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, I think many of you are familiar with these four elements. Like we need a stable supply of food, we need local as well as global availability. I think and access as well, which I have talked about before, and there should be like proper facility to utilize the resources, right? So that all is necessary for ensuring food security broadly. So, like some of the nutraceuticals, uh, which I think in the previous slide already I have talked about, like these are some, we can summarize different sources as herbal extracts, animal extracts, and microbial extracts, basically, right? And these are certain categories like fatty acids, amino acids, and proteins, vitamins and minerals, and probiotics and prebiotics. Like these are the categories of nutraceuticals which are already there in the market. Okay, and some examples already I have mentioned to you. And basically, fortified foods are like they have added vitamins and minerals, the micronutrients, into the mainstream food, like the food which is broadly consumed. And in the next slide, I will give you certain example which have been fortified and are being distributed by the government currently and quite encouraged to be consumed by the general public. So this helps us, like basically it adds these vitamins and minerals into these mainstream foods. If someone is not familiar with the concept I'm explaining, so this will help us in curbing the deficiency of micronutrients. And also during this busy schedule and the economic restrictions which we have, because of which are working a lot and our times don't sync a lot so that we can cook, like that's a restraint worldwide right now for working people. In that case also it helps if we have fortified food. And then again, it's immunity booster, which is a very big challenge right now. Like overall, whatever we do, we can be vaccinated, we can do a lot of things. We are doing yoga, we are doing exercise, ball and a swing here, which is used by basically by my son. So, like all these things are there, but food has to be good, and fortified foods can play a big role in this. So, some of the examples of the fortified food which has been made available by government recently is fortified milk, fortified rice, double fortified salt, fortified oil, and fortified wheat flour, and this is being made available by government to the needy people. Along with that, we have commercial products which have it, like Mother Dairy, Cargill, Conagra Foods, and Adani. These are some of the groups like ITC and all. They are some of the commercial groups which are who are actually concentrating on developing these fortified foods. And like people who can afford to buy, they will buy. And then again, government is also providing to the people who cannot afford it, right? So there are two ways there, and it's working. So in case of milk and oil, vitamin A and D is being fortified in double fortified salt, iron, and iodine. In case of rice, it is folic acid and vitamin B12. And in case of iron is also there. And in case of wheat, also iron, folic acid, and vitamin B12. So it basically covers up a lot of minerals and nutrients to increase our immunity. So this is a set of technologies which like microwave based technology, radio frequency, pulse electric field, high pressure processing, hyperbaric processing, infrared and cold plasma processing. I think many of us, probably all of us, are familiar with these terms. And these are being at lab scale broadly exploited in all fields of food processing. packaging, storage, increasing shelf life, like reducing the activity of enzymes and everything. But have to be commercialized. So we need to work together with, like, it has to be a multidisciplinary approach to make energy efficient, affordable, and like commercialized and being used by everybody. So I would like to conclude that this like a combination of all this nutrition, like nutrition rich food, along with healthy exercises and everything, we can definitely move forward in this pandemic, along with the facility of vaccinations. Like, most of us are vaccinated, but still we have to build up our immunity further to face the challenge which is out there. Like, new variants are there, and people are getting sick despite vaccines. So probably food is the medium through which we can do it. And